Okay. Hi, it's Stephanie Evelo here, owner of the Evelo team at Keller Realty, and I'm excited today to bring you our monthly market update. And we always have our special guest, Bob Warner, senior realtor partner with the Evelo team. And Bob, how long have you been with our team, and how long have you been doing this now?
This is year 13.
13, lucky 13. Speaking of luck, I wore green especially for today. We don't want people counting on luck to get their home sold, right? We want them to count on us. Um, so Bob, so tell me what has happened in the local housing market here in February?
Yeah, let's just get right into it here. So first up is that median home sales price. So we ended the month of February at 297. That was basically flat over last February where we ended at 297.5. Seems like we have a lot of flat in the numbers that we'll look at today. This one is not one of those. That is the median days on market. So we were up to 47 in February. That was up from 37 last February. So 10 days doesn't sound like a lot, but from a percentage perspective, that's up 27%. And the thing that I was looking at today as I was pulling this together, just look at this down here at the bottom from January of 2020 to July of 2022, we were under 10 that entire time. So to peak back up to over 40, that is the first time that has really happened since 2018. So that's a pretty noticeable difference there. That month supply of inventory after we took a sharp peak last month, which is that big hill right there. We have come back down to 2.6 months supply of inventory. Again, for the most part, a balanced market is considered somewhere around a 4 to 5 month supply of inventory. So, still by definition, what we would consider a seller's market. But again, if you look at these numbers down here from 2020 to 2022, we were under a month's supply of inventory that entire time. So, things have definitely changed, maybe just not all the way back to where they were quite some time ago. Next up, we like to look at that percent of list price received. So again, this is another one of those ones that's pretty flat over last year. We ended the month at 97.3% on average, which was down just a hair from 97.8% last February. And that's sort of our first look at some of the items there.
Yeah, and I think looking at that stat, that's kind of one of the lowest ones we've had in, how long, list to sales price ratio. But what's interesting, I think sellers have just been super confident about, or feeling like they're super confident about their price and what their price should be versus looking at actually what the market is doing and where it's at, right? So, yeah, so just a forewarn that yeah, sellers need to really be looking at their the data to look at the comparables, what they need to be asking for initially, right?
Yeah.
So it's all relative. Perfect. Well, what additional items have you been following to track the shifting market? I know you track a lot of different things.
Yeah, so there's a few more here we go through each month. That first one up is that active inventory. So we were above 5,000 again for this month, which was up almost 16% over last year. We were at 4,500 active listings. So that's sort of a magic baseline number around here. When we're above 5,000, that usually tells us one thing. When we're below 5,000, that usually tells us something different. Next up is the closed sales. This again is another one that was pretty flat year over year. So we ended at 2027, where last February we ended at 2045. So pretty consistent there. The number of new listings down a little bit, but closer to flat. So we had 2,601 listings this February, which was down slightly from 2,669 last February. And then the last one we like to take a look at in this batch, we look at that average list to sales price ratio. But as we talk about every month, real estate is very hyper local, very neighborhood local, even extend out a little bit beyond that. So even though on average homes are selling for 97.3%, you can see here we still have 11.3% of the homes that are selling for above list price. So that is down a little bit from this time last year, but it's pretty consistent. We seem to be in this like 11 to 13, 14% range for the greater part of the last 12 to 24 months. So obviously seeing the average list to sales price ratio come down, but still seeing double digit percentages of homes that sell for over list price. So again, it just depends on price point and location, like always. And those are the driving factors between those two.
Yeah, and what price the seller starts at, right? Because yeah, two of the last three that we listed actually had multiple offers, but it's all relative to where the price starts, I think. So yeah. Well, how about the interest rates? I know everybody's curious where financing looks like.
Yeah, so they've kind of gone up and down in limited amounts. So if I pulled up the slide from last month, you would have seen the exact same number. Literally for February when we did this presentation, the average for that period of time was 6.11 for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And if you look up there at the top left, we're at 6.11 today when I pulled the information as well. So we are seem to be fluctuating in that. We had a couple weeks there where we hit high fives, like 5.9, 5.95, 5.97, low sixes, but we just seem to sort of be going back and forth a little bit between whether we're there and maybe as high as like 6.25. But you can see we've been really consistent now. I know it's a little hard to see, but going back to sort of the beginning of 2025 is when we were pretty consistently under 6%, and we've been under that the whole last 12 months. So I think I saw another, not a slide that we have, but I think it was the lowest average interest rate we've had for the last 3 years is sort of where we're at now. So the good news is, back in 2023, fall of 23, we were pushing 8%. In 2024, we were pushing above 7%. And so the good news is we've been pretty consistently now for almost a year in that low 6% territory, and we've even hit the high fives a couple times.
Yeah, and that's good for buyers, right? For the interest rates staying pretty stable where they're at, and then a little bit more inventory on the market to look at, and yeah, and most of the time, some of the time, remaining on the market in time for them to see them, right? So awesome. Well, what about any final thoughts on the state of the market? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, we always try to end with something aside from the interest rate discussion that we just had. I think the next question we get the most is when's the right time to sell, right? And at the end of the
Always.
day, what I always tell people is homes sell all year long. That's the bottom line. But come about every March till maybe the middle of June each year, I always describe it in my presentations as like a roller coaster. You have that first hill on a roller coaster, right? So you start down here and then you peak out and you go down that first big hill. So the bottom of that hill always starts around this March timeframe, and we usually see that peak end around mid to late June. So definitely, the short answer to that is, if you broke out into like sort of 4 quarters that don't follow the calendar quarter are 4
Right.
months there, sort of from March to June-ish, right? That is definitely our peak selling season in our market, and just a little bit of what that offers, right? There's more buyers. It's when buyers are most active. We tend to see more offers on each home, which could potentially lead to a higher selling price. And at the end of the day, we just see more sales there, right? So when you see some of those slides where it shows the total number of sales per month, um, January and February are usually our two lowest, maybe throw in December there as well. And when we do this presentation next month with our March results, we'll start to see that peak go up, and we'll should see that number go up from, March, April, May, and June. And then we'll start to see that number start to come down. And then sometimes it does a little, secondary or tertiary hill to end the year. But just things to think about, and especially with the interest rate being the lowest it has been in the last 3 years. And again, I'll just speak from personal experience. I feel like I've definitely had more active buyers starting out this calendar year than the last couple of years. That's just one data input and one person in a big market, but it's relative, I think, and we can definitely notice some differences.
Yeah, and I think it's important that buyers do know and understand that you see if a home is priced right and it's going on the market, so you've got still homes selling over asking price, and that's because if it's priced right and appropriate, you can't wait to like go see it in a week from now, right? Like, yes,
Yeah.
definitely if a home comes on the market and you're actively looking and wanting to find something, you need to get out and take a peek at it quickly. Because it might not be there in a few days, right? We're still seeing single digit days on market for those that are priced right and condition right. So
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bob, for sharing always. We appreciate it. Man, 13 years has gone by quickly. And I know we've been doing this since COVID started. So we appreciate all your time, all your effort and energy in pulling all this data so that we can share it with all of our friends, family, and those who might be thinking about buying or selling here in our local market in central Indiana and here in Hamilton County and all surrounding areas. So we want to say thank you so much for joining us. And if you have a real estate need that we can assist with, please let's connect. You can contact our team at info@eveloteam.com or 317-863-9011. You can call that number or text. And we'll put all that information here below as well. But thank you so much for considering the Evelo team for all your real estate needs. And as always, make each moment count. Bye-bye.